Mike Olson, Director of Development for StandUp for Kids Orange County and host of ListenUp, the StandUp for Kids podcast. On today's episode, we're speaking with Mike Sherbakov, a Marine Corps veteran and founder and CEO of the Greatness Collective. We'll be talking with him about the subject of greatness and what each of us can be doing in our own lives to strive for greatness. Hey, Mike, thanks for joining us.
Mike, thanks for having me today. Grateful to be here.
All right, I'm going to jump right in and just get to it. So first question, what is greatness?
What is greatness? First, greatness is subjective, meaning that it's not any one thing to any one person, but it's very individual to each individual. I'll elaborate on that a bit. I think that I believe that we're all here for a reason. I think that the things that we're passionate about, the things that we naturally enjoy, the things that we're good at, I don't think that that's a coincidence. And I think greatness is not only uncovering what those things are, what I would say your vision, your mission, your values, and your purpose, but greatness is not only uncovering that, but it's stepping into it and starting and just moving constantly in the direction of those things that light you up.
Great. Yeah. And so, yeah, it's a term that is very nebulous-y, very, I don't know if arbitrary is the right word, or intangible. So one of my goals with you on this call is to try to come up with some tangible pieces and parts to it that people could actually start using and start working on their own individual path to greatness. And I'm thinking about it also from a StandUp for Kids basis. So we're an organization whose mission is to end the cycle of youth homelessness. So we are a collaborative team that is working to be great. And
I want to say I love that you touched on that, because I think that it starts on an individual level and it obviously starts to branch out into an organizational level too. I think every business and organization has the opportunity to ask the exact same questions that we'll probably talk about today of, at the end of the day, why are we doing what we do? There's a reason that you're involved with StandUp for Kids. There's a reason that you felt called to do this. Again, I don't think that that's a coincidence. I think that, the organization takes a stand and says, this is what we are going to stand up for. I mean, no pun intended, like this is where we're going to plant our flag. And what's pretty cool about that is the moment that you plant your flag in the ground and you say, this is what I believe in, this is what I stand for, you'll start to see other people surround you that value the same things, that want to be on that same mission. And that's why I say it's very individual, right? No one told you, I imagine, this is what you need to do. This is, be passionate about this thing. No, you decided this is something I care deeply about. This is something I want to have an impact on. And so you stepped into it. And so I think that that's just a beautiful thing. It kind of makes life this game. It makes life very purposeful, and it gives life a lot of meaning because we constantly get to step into that on an individual and also, like I said, an organizational level. We get to align ourselves with companies and brands and that are into the same things that we are, that care about the same things we do.
Yes. I'm going to guess that there are a large percentage of people that don't yet have that passion piece, or they're I don't know, they are in a search for that, maybe. Is that fair?
I think that people like to say, I think that they don't know when they actually do. I think I don't know is, and I don't mean to be offensive at all or sound insensitive, but I think I don't know as a cop out, because I'll walk you through a really quick exercise. And it's something that I've taught for probably maybe tens of thousands of people have gone through this at some point. And it's very simple. It's asking three big questions. Okay. And the three big questions, and they each have kind of sub questions, but the first one what are your passions? And if I sat down with you, Mike, or anyone that's listening or watching, I could ask you, what are you passionate about? You'll have answers, right? It doesn't matter what it is. There's no right or wrong. And, sub questions to this are, what kinds of things do you enjoy? What do you do that makes you smile? What kinds of things did you like to do when you were younger? What kinds of things are you interested in? What are you curious about? What do you like? Right? It's a very simple question. And it could be anything. I like surfing. I like pickleball. I like eating different cuisines. I like traveling. I like spending time with family and loved ones. So those are, everyone can answer those questions, right? If you ask someone, what are you passionate about? They're not going to say, I don't know. There's a million infinite possibilities for things to be passionate about. Second question is, what are your strengths? Now, this gets a little bit harder because some people may say, well, I'm not good at a lot of things, but here are some sub questions. Or, what do you have experience in? What kind of skills have you developed? Some people say, what are your God-given abilities, or what are your spiritual gifts, or, what are things that you're just kind of blessed with, like naturally? Are you a good talker? Are you a good listener? Are you a good organizer? Are you a big picture thinker? Are you very detail oriented? So, answering those kinds of questions of what are your strengths. And then the last question is, what is your connection? And a better way to ask that is, what do you care about? When you think about the challenges that the world is facing, societal, environmental, political, I mean, whether it's homelessness, or standing up for children, or developing countries, whatever that is, what kinds of things, when you think about, you really want to make a difference in? And I promise, if people ask this question enough, they'll find something. Like, it's kind of hardwired in us as humans. We are empathetic creatures. We care about other people. We care about things. When we see, injustice or suffering kind of hurt us. And so we naturally want to make a difference. We want to make the world a better place. But the question is, how do you want to do it? Like, what is that thing? And so here it is, Mike. It's really at the intersection of those three things. What are you passionate about? What are you good at, your strengths? And what do you care about? What's your connection? What do you care about? At the intersection of those three things is your purpose. So anyone that says, I don't know what my purpose is, just focus on those things and see if you can start to just naturally weave them into your daily, your weekly, or your monthly life. Start to just incorporate a little more of those things and watch what happens. It's pretty incredible.
Yeah. So you just told me the key to everything in 3 minutes. It's
The key
easy,
to
right?
everything.
Yeah.
It's and it doesn't have, the thing is, Mike, it doesn't have to be that complicated. But guess what? At no point did I say compare yourself to what someone else is doing, right? Because there's, like, it doesn't matter what anyone else is doing. I always like to give the example of my mom. My mom was a teacher for 20 years. I grew up in the Bay Area. She's like an amazing mother. And at this point in her life, she now has horses and chickens and goats. She has alpacas and a llama, and she has this garden that she really cares for. So, the kids have all moved out of the house, and her days consist of taking care of the garden and the animals. And if you met my mom, you would be like, this is the most on purpose person I've ever met in my entire life, because she puts so much love into the garden and the animals. It's crazy. Like, she's, talk about purposeful, talk about fulfilled. And so, I like to give that example because it's not complicated. She just found, oh, I love doing these things. So let me do this on a daily basis. It doesn't have to be this big world changing thing. You're traveling around the world and building schools and homes, and that's cool. Like, I enjoy doing that at this phase of my life, but everyone's different. That's why I started this whole thing off with it. Greatness is very subjective to the individual.
Yeah. Uh, and we're going to talk about your organization and kind of what you guys do here. But I want to kind of peel that apart a little bit. Because I mean, I struggle with, what's my passion? What am I good at? What do I want to fix? And I'm sure there are a lot of people that are not in alignment on those things. They're doing something that's paying the bills and it's getting them by, but do they love it? Are they passionate about it? And that was always one of my questions is, okay, can I actually make a living doing the thing that I'm passionate about and want to be great at. And that was where I just recently in the last few years kind of found the alignment on that with the nonprofit world and specifically with Stand Up for Kids. But I was an engineer prior and paid the bills and did well in that regard. But as far as like passion and feeling like I'm making a difference and making the world a better place, I didn't really have that, and I was searching for it. So I had a
Mm.
lot of years in that kind of how I felt was in a in limbo. And I know I've thought about like, all right, what is my skill set and what is my passion and how do I link them together? And for me, without coaching, without a guy like you to kind of like break it down, definitely had a long-term struggle with finding it. Um,
I
so
think you did make an important distinction there, and there's actually a documentary that I was featured in called Transcendence. It was Transcendence 2. It's on Gaia TV. If you get a chance to watch it, it's really good. Like if you're familiar with Michael Bernard Beckwith is in it as well. Djokovic, Lewis Howes, some really great people. And our the episode that I'm in is all about finding your purpose. And one thing that is often overlooked or often misunderstood is this idea that your purpose has to be woven into your career. Look, I think if you find it, wow, like good for you. I feel very blessed that I am one of those people that I don't know what the breakdown of percentages is, but someone that gets to do what they love, like very, very purposeful for a living. Now, that also took a ton of time to develop. And, we can get into that story of how this evolved, but it doesn't have to be what you do for a career. Right now, you may be in a position, like you said you were, where you're doing something that's paying the bills because look, the financial obligations are a reality. You have to take care of your basic needs. And then on top of that, but this is the important part, and Gary Vee says this often. He says, it's not about what you do in the 9 to 5, it's what you do in the 5 to 9. So if you're in a 9 to 5 and you're making, you making ends meet that way, what are you doing in all the other time? If you're coming home and you're just throwing Netflix on and kind of, or playing video games, and there's nothing wrong with those things if you enjoy them, but if you're not working towards something that matters to you, then that's the time to do it. And so I often, like it's so simple here. And that's what I think the overall message that I want to share is it can be so simple. I'll give you an example. If you care about animals, go to your local rescue, tell them that you want to go volunteer there. And let's say you're very, very busy with work. Instead of 40-hour weeks, you're working 80-hour weeks. Well, volunteer 2 hours a month, right? 1 hour a week, whatever it is, like do something that moves you in that direction. Or people that are really passionate about building community, right? They say, I want to build this big community. I go, when was the last time you hosted a dinner and invited friends over, right? And like these are little things that we can do. You can start bringing community together with people that have the same values as you. You can start volunteering and feel that sense of fulfillment and meaning in that volunteer work you do while you're still working on your career. And eventually, if you kind of want to make the transition or build something of your own, that at the intersection of those things. But this whole idea of you have to wait 10, 20 years, or like I'm going to give back or I'm going to contribute down the road when I reach this, that kind of mentality, that day never comes, right? I like to say someday is not a day of the week.
that's good. And I think the key takeaway for me on what you just said is start small. So greatness is this big thing that you want to achieve so much in your life, or in your day or in your whatever time frame, but it's really just taking that first step and getting off the ground and
Yeah.
then
Oh,
building upon that progress.
spot on, Mike. Have you seen the movie Inside Out?
It's a animated
It's like,
movie.
yeah, it's a
Yeah.
Pixar or Disney film.
Yes.
It's one of those. And by the way, all those Disney films are profound because there's always, there's what's the storyline, what's happening for, the audience of the younger crowd. And then there's always some larger storyline or like some jokes or things that are for the adults. So, when they take their kids to the theater, there's also something happening there.
Yep.
And it's a profound insight because what's happening is these experiences, I don't know if you remember, these experiences are happening. And, if it's a good thing, like it was a green ball, or if it's kind of a neutral, it was a red, or if it was an anger thing, it was, or if it was neutral, it was yellow. Then if it was angry, it was red. So you have these different kind of emotions or states and things happening, and you start collecting moments, right? So every moment, to your point, starting small, is this chance of like, do I want to do a green ball? Like, do I want to make this moment really great by doing something that's aligned with my values? Do I want to just kind of do something neutral, or do I want to go outside of my values and maybe get a red ball? And it doesn't seem like much, but over the course of a day, let's say you had 100 decisions that you made, hopefully 90% of them were like green. Maybe you made some, I was emotional, but you made one that's not aligned with your values. But now you extrapolate that over the course of days, weeks, months, and years. And all of a sudden, like these moments where you chose to be great, you suddenly get to the end of your life and you've lived a great life. So it's not about like waiting for some finish line. It's about like starting right now and making every single moment, every time you get to that decision crossroad of, can you make this moment great?
Yeah. Uh, okay. I want to follow on to that but shift a little bit to our population. So the population that we support is at risk or homeless youth. So these are youth that have been, I don't know, for lack of a better term, like dealt a bad hand in life, and so they're in an adverse situation. It's individual what the adversity is, to each individual, but they're in a rough spot, rougher than the average teenager, young adult. And to your point about green balls, yellow balls, and red balls, it's probably more difficult for them to pick up the green ball than the green ball is probably a harder ball in a lot of situations. What is it, a mindset shift? Like what does somebody need to do to, if they're picking up the red balls all the time kind of right now, what is there a thought process they can go through to, you kind of alluded to it already, but is there more you could add to that?
Yeah, and this is an important distinction or caveat. Thank you for bringing that up. Is look, I don't know the answers to some of those really difficult questions, and the difficult questions are, why were some people dealt a certain hand while others were dealt a very different hand? And you are dedicating your time and resources right now to supporting those that have been dealt a very different hand, and a good chunk of my adult life has been the same. I don't know the answer to that. I don't know why. But what I do know is the hand that I've been dealt is meant to help others. If I have the resources to help others, I'm going to use it. I'm not going to waste it. So that's kind of part number one. And then to your point, when you are in that position where you've been dealt a difficult hand, absolutely, it's more challenging to just kind of pick the green. But here's what's important about it is, notice there's not a- an objective metric tied to that green, meaning it's going to rely on the individual. So when I said, we just did that like exercise of, here are your passions, here are your strengths, here's your connection, or like, here are your values. These are the things that I stand for. I stand for kindness. I stand for empathy. I stand for, contribution. I stand for self-actualization, for playing big in life. So like, once you've established your values, the green balls are like, are you making choices based on those values? So let's say someone's in in a whether it's a developing country or just like an underserved community, and as an individual they have a choice of, do I spend more time with these people that are, I think, going in a positive trajectory in life? Like, I could see them moving up. I see them working hard. They align with my values, right? All these things that I just mentioned. They're hardworking. They care. Or like, it's very easy to say, here are this other group of people that are making very different choices. Like, I have a 15-year-old son, and we talked about this quite a bit. Is, he's in high school and he has a choice of who he spends time with. And I said, like, can you extrapolate the timeline of this group of friends, like, and the choices they're making? Is this something that you align with? Is this something that you also value? And at one point, he kind of made this honest decision of no, they don't. And so now it's funny because his friends, like the things he values, he's really into working out right now. And so he found the group that really likes to work out, and he's like getting good grades in school. And he's like, wow, I think I want to spend more time with, these kids that are getting good grades. And it's not in any way saying like I'm cutting other people out or they're wrong or anything. You're just saying like, this is what I value and this is what I stand for. So let me start to make more and more decisions that move me in that direction.
That's good. That's good. And I guess to put a period on that sentence, it's incremental. It's day by day, decision by decision, and it's you don't get there. There's no fast lane. It's a step by step process.
There's no fast lane. You're right. And guess what? There's also no finish line either. That's kind of the cool thing
I like
is,
that.
I'm 35 years old and I'm still figuring this stuff out. And are my days full of green balls making perfect choices all the time? No, like I, you know, constantly working on this of let me make it's much better. The way overwhelming majority of my choices are exactly kind of what I know I need to be doing. But yeah, there are times where I'm like, I know I have to do this thing. I don't really feel like it, but it does get easier. The more you do it, the easier it becomes. We kind of train that muscle of ours.
Yep, get some muscle memory going, and you don't want that slice of pizza as much as you did 6 months ago, or 3 months ago.
Yeah.
Okay, so I know I want to be respectful of your time. I have two more quick questions, and we unfortunately weren't able to get too deep into the Greatness Collective, which you are the founder and CEO of. But if somebody wanted to get some more information about what you do and how you do it, where would they go?
Yeah. You can Google Greatness Collective or go to greatnesscollective.com.
Okay, perfect. All right. So if you could leave our audience of supporters at StandUp for Kids with one takeaway for those who are aiming to be great, if you could kind of boil this down and say, all right, here's one thing, what would you say?
One word, Mike. Start.
Perfect. I don't think we
You
need
don't,
to. Yeah.
yeah. I want to make sure I don't butcher this quote. You don't have to be great to start, but you have to start to be great. So whatever it is, whatever I call it a divine discomfort, whatever that thing is that's pulling at your heart, or the things that you kind of know you need to be doing, or the way that you want to be giving that you don't feel like you're quite doing yet, just start. Even if it's tiny, if again, 1 hour a month, 1 hour a week, we so many ways to give, so many ways to contribute, so many ways to live a meaningful and purposeful life. Just start with something today.
Well said. Thank you, Mike. I really appreciate your time today. Have a great day.
Michael, thanks so much.
Thank you for listening today to Listen Up, the Stand Up for Kids podcast. A big thank you to Gabby Villarreal and Billy Huynh for their production and editing support. Please like this video and subscribe to our channel. Click here to watch more. Please also consider a donation to help getting kids off the streets using the link below. 92 cents out of every dollar donated goes directly to supporting these kids. I'm your host, Michael Olson, Director of Development at Stand Up for Kids Orange County. Thanks for listening and have a great day.